Hello, writers. This is session 3 from Writing About History, and this session is called Writers Make a Plan, Then Write. So today, writers, I'm going to teach you that before you sit down to draft, it's important to make a plan. Just like architects draw out plans for a building, and just like a teacher sits down and makes a plan before teaching, you will plan by grouping your facts into categories that will eventually become your paragraphs. Remember that this is our job to teach during this informational book. So it's important that you organize your information so that your readers can understand the facts that are being presented to them clearly. So our first slide is going to show our mentor text for this piece of writing. Now this happens to be my subtopic, and it is the battles of Lexington and Concord. And it's always important that we use our mentor text to see what this writer did and what decisions that they made. Excuse me. So we'll notice here that their subtopics were labeled The Secret Plan, Lexington, Concord, and Retreat to Boston. Now, there are many ways that you can organize your facts. There's not just one way. And so you may be able to try different ways of organizing your facts into a way that you think makes the most sense for your readers. So on the next slide here, I'm going to give you some examples of ways that you can order your events. One way is to order your events chronologically. Start with what happened first. Then move, and each paragraph kind of talks about main topics within that event. B is similar parts or stages of the event. Now this is going to work really well for those of you who have bigger subtopics such as the Alamo. That has multiple stages in that one subtopic. Another way that you can organize your facts is by location. This works if you have different locations within your subtopic. Just like with my subtopic, the battles of Lexington and Concord, I have 2 different locations that I could talk about in 2 separate paragraphs. So what I have done is, towards the bottom of the screen, I have written some additional ideas that I could use to organize my facts instead of what you saw on the mentor text. My first chapter title could be What Happened Before, where I talk about what led up to the battles of Lexington and Concord. My second chapter could be The Redcoats. This is from the British Army's perspective. Why were they coming to Lexington and Concord, and what did they plan on doing? My third paragraph could focus on the Minutemen. What was their perspective? What did they do when they found out the secret plan? And what did they decide to do in response to the Redcoats? And then I could finish my paragraph with how it ended. What happened at the end of the first battle of the American Revolution? What did it lead to? Now, although I am talking about the same subtopic, I am organizing and labeling my paragraphs differently. So let's go ahead and move on to our information checklist. Now, you've seen this information checklist before, It looked a little bit different than this one. This one's a little bit more simplified. It's going to remind you that at the beginning of your draft, you're going to have a beginning. You're going to have an introduction where you maybe asked a reader a question in your hook, you painted a picture with words, or you told a story or an interesting fact. The middle, you're going to have your information divided up into paragraphs, just like we planned out. And then at the very last part of your draft, you're going to have an ending. You're going to remind your readers of what your subtopic was, and you are going to leave something special at the end so they will remember your subtopic. Now remember, this was very similar to our previous project on the topic that you were an expert on. So many of you wrote about tigers. Some of you wrote about a specific hobby or a sport like golfing, and you taught us all about those things. You broke up your facts into paragraphs so they were easy for us to read. So when you have decided on your chapter titles, you're going to take this opportunity to draft. So in your assignment today, you are going to draft, and you're going to follow the information checklist, starting with an introduction, with your paragraphs that you have decided upon, and then with an ending. If you would like to use the mentor text as an example, please do so. That is what it is there for. But you're going to be writing within this note. So the last few pages is what you'll use. So you'll write your name up at the top, and then you will start your draft.